Please give it up for the brilliant Mr. Gregg Sulkin. Hello. You can sit here, yes. I'm going to allow you the full sofa so you can stretch out and relax and chill.
Looks very nice, very smooth. How is everyone? Good.
Just noticed it's Marvel red as well. Look at that.
Perfect. Meant to be.
So thank you very much for joining us this weekend. And thank you for coming over again. What's it like coming home to talk about Marvel Runaways?
Yeah, it's a very special experience for me because I moved to Los Angeles when I was 17. I'm now 27, and so, you know, to leave my family at 17 was a very hard experience, I guess, but I always wanted to, like, when I moved to America, I was like, okay, I've got an opportunity here, I need to make the most of it, and thankfully, you know, to come back with, you know, a few shows under my belt, and especially this one, I know my mom and dad are very proud, so it's cool to be able to come back home and talk about things that I've been doing over the past few years, and kind of share it with people that, you know, I'm familiar with.
And also stock up on some British staples while you're back.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And do you find then, though, because you moved out at such a young age, you kind of, having that ability to adapt when you're in an environment like that, did that help you as an actor?
Sorry, say that again?
So when you've moved out to LA, you're very young at the time, you're trying to get used to being out in the big wide world like that. That's a special kind of person that does that and has that drive to do that. Has that kind of helped you when you take on roles then? Because you know you've got that drive and it's kind of built you up?
Yeah, I think the one amazing thing about doing things when you're a little bit younger is you have absolutely no fear. You don't know any different. I think I wanted to be a football player before I was an actor when I was younger. So I used to play for like West Ham and QPR and Tottenham youth teams. And so I was always very disciplined. I was always very driven. I was always very determined to kind of like do something, make something of myself. And so yeah, hopefully it had a knock-on effect regarding my career. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where, I didn't know what I was doing. I was young. All I knew was I wanted to act. I loved acting. I literally knew no one when I first moved to LA. And I remember sitting in an apartment in West Hollywood at the time. I didn't know a single soul, and I had no furniture and a pizza box, and I was like, okay, well, I guess the next few years of my life are down to me. And so, yes, it was scary, but also it was sort of exciting. So, I do think that you can control your life and can control your destiny if you apply hard work and a lot of effort. So that's what I intend to continue to do.
And you have. I mean, you've had some incredible roles, and you've filmed in. I was looking at this. You filmed in some staggering places. You filmed in like not only the US, not only Britain, New Zealand. What's been the favourite place you've got to film?
New Zealand's stunning. Hungary. I was in Budapest. I did a movie with Meghan Markle, who is obviously our, Harry's wife now.
Wow.
And that was an amazing experience too. And so, yeah, I've just been very lucky. I think I also shot a movie in London, and so that was very special to me. That movie, by the way, with Meghan was also shot in London and Hungary. So I don't know. There's something special, though, about shooting in LA. I think as a young English boy, I always dreamed of working in Los Angeles, working at Paramount Studios in particular, which is where we shoot Marvel's Runaways. And I remember my mom and dad sitting outside. I remember when I first moved to America, before I actually moved and when I was on holiday, I remember my mom and dad, they used to pray outside Paramount Studios, which was like, one day I hope, and we all used to pray together, but like one day I hope my son works at Paramount Studios. And then every day I go to Paramount and I drive through the gates, I say hi to the security guards who are like the nicest guys. And then I look up at the tower and I'm like, wow, like this is a very special thing. So I think for me, LA is Paramount Studios in particular is a very special place for me.
It's your spiritual home, effectively, in a sense, isn't it? It's become attached to part of your life.
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge part of my life, and I think when I was younger, my life was it was so focused on acting, entertainment industry. And then over time, you start realizing, okay, this is an amazing industry, and I'm very, very fortunate, but at the same time, like, there are more important things in life than just the entertainment industry, and like humanity and giving back is also absolutely huge, more important than the entertainment industry. And so, it's been an amazing place to grow up. But yeah, way more important things in the entertainment industry.
And did you say that's one of the things that comes with having a character like Chase, where it's essentially a permanent job? You're on a series, you're constantly going, and you don't have to be out there actively auditioning a lot more than what you normally would do. Does that kind of give you that base to suddenly reflect a bit more?
For sure, you know, I've got friends on different spectrums, I guess, of success. And I will probably say that the ones who have been able to like land job security helps, because once you have it, you become a little bit more stress-free. And then you get to open your eyes and you're like, okay, actually, I want to enjoy the world too. And so I know in my situation that, you know, I've thankfully continued to work. And so it's given me the opportunity in between seasons to be like, okay, this is mad and this is a crazy industry. But also, like, who is Gregg? Like, who am I as a human being? And so, yeah, you got to do some soul searching, because if you don't, I think it's an industry that can eat you up very, very, very quickly, especially in a town like Los Angeles. And it has amazing perks, but it also has a dark side that no one really talks about. And so for me, I just feel like I've just been very fortunate in the sense that I have had that time to reflect. And also I have two amazing parents who have been married for 30 years and who have always kind of taught me or tried to teach me to do the right thing and focus on, you know, not just myself, but others. And so, yeah, I think a lot of it, I'm not sure it's related to Chase too much, but it's definitely related to my parents.
And it's kind of nice to be grounded, I think, Ezra, because you see a lot of stories every day with actors that are not grounded and that believe their own hype. So fair play to you and your parents, because it's a hard thing to do, and people don't realize how hard it is until they have that kind of success, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it's always easy to judge a celebrity, you know. I think like the media has a huge responsibility, and I don't think they necessarily understand that. And I think they not all media sites, but they tend to write a story for the sake of their own pocket, and they don't realize the effect that could actually have on that individual. You know, it's very tough. You have you know, if you look at, you know, Disney stars, for example, have a very bad kind of like reputation. But the truth is, like, these young girls and guys have a lot of eyeballs on them. And aside from being a Disney star, they're also a human being.
Yeah.
And they're also a young 17-year-old, 18-year-old who they're just dating for the first time, and their bodies are changing. And, you know, it's tough for a human being. And so the world is scrutinizing them. So I do sometimes feel like society should give a little bit of slack to people like that, just because, you know, at the end of the day, they're just like everybody else, but they're just being viewed. Everybody goes out, has a drunken night here and there. I know I have. My 17th birthday was a prime example of that. And so, you know, I just think it's important. As a society, we build each other up rather than tear each other down.
And when you mentioned there being Disney, and you've worked with Disney, we know that. But what's that like when you got that job and you were part of that Disney family? Well, how did you feel, and is it as controlled as many people believe it is when you're working for them?
Has anyone seen Wizards here? Okay, so thank you. To this day, it was the job that changed my life. It was the company that changed my life. I mean, still working for Marvel, which is owned by Disney, they've changed my life. I'm always going to be grateful for that. They're a fantastic company. They know exactly what they're doing. Extremely smart, ran by extremely smart people. Some people who work for them may not say the nicest thing. For me personally, I couldn't be more grateful. I couldn't. They've given me my star. They've given me my platform. So, like, is it controlled? Yes, but so is any job. You know, if you turn up an hour late, you can't turn up an hour late. Like, your boss is still going to be mad. Yeah. So, you know, just because you're working for Disney doesn't give you the right to treat it like you're able to, like, walk on water, because you're not. You're still an employee of a company that is worldwide and has a responsibility to fans and mostly families who, you know, that brand is very respected. And so parents look at the brand, and they know that that's a trusted brand that they could give their, you know, child, you know, their child can watch that material and be happy. And so, yeah, there's a responsibility for working for the company, for sure.
And it must be kind of nice for you as well, because with that comes a bit of protection, and you learn things about the industry as a result. So I would say it's almost beneficial to an actor to be part of that kind of company as well.
I mean, they're the biggest company in the world, and so I think it's. If I could stay, if someone says to me, "Would you like to have a career with Disney for the rest of your life?" I would bite their hand off, because absolutely I would. I mean, they're the biggest, they're the best, they're the most trusted. You know, look at Marvel, for example. Like,
Yeah.
Again, Marvel is owned by Disney, and so the power of the brand is just huge. But going back to how I felt when I first got Wizards, I was extremely nervous. I had a terrible mullet.
Oh.
And I remember, you know, I was going to meet, I already chemistry read with Selena back in Los Angeles when I was on holiday. And she was absolutely lovely, so sweet. And I was nervous, you know, there was a young girl, a very pretty young girl, who was playing I was playing her love interest. And so I knew that there was a big fan base. And thankfully the fans gravitated towards my character, our storyline. But yeah, very nervous. I didn't know comedy. I didn't know how to be funny. Terrible haircut. You know, it wasn't looking too bright for me at the time. But thankfully, the cast stuck with me. The crew members were incredible to me. They were like my family. And so we had a very special bond. And so it's a great show. People, you know, thankfully come up to me and they literally say, like, you were part of my childhood. And it's quite hard to describe how that feels, because of course it's very humbling. And at the time when you just think you're shooting a show, and I was 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, I didn't realize the impact I was having. But now, a few years later, I look back on it and I'm truly, truly thankful that I was able to have that experience and have fun as well.
And, you know, one day it's a show you can show your family when you're being a parent.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the werewolf side of stuff, like playing a werewolf, was a lot of fun. But yeah, you know, film lasts forever, so it's something that I'm definitely going to show my kids.
And what's your fondest memory from that series for you?
I think the last day was a very special moment in the sense that, you know, the show at that time had won an Emmy. It was very successful. Everywhere we would go, we would be recognized. Selena was at the start of her next tier, I would say, in her career. And so it was one of those moments where we all looked at each other. We shared this incredible bond, incredible show, and everybody just burst into tears, knowing that everybody's going to go off on their different directions, you know, and we were leaving something very special behind. And that was tough, because, to be honest, we talk about it, the cast still talk about it, and if those who follow the show closely may have heard that David, who's my best friend, who plays Justin, was talking about a reunion the other day. And it would be a very special thing to do, because I don't think any of us left being like, oh, yes, can't wait to get off the show. It was the complete opposite feeling. And so I know that the cast are very attached to that show. And so if there is an opportunity to do a reunion, and if it works out contractually between us all, I think hopefully we could do one.
And, you know, Disney Plus exists now, Netflix exists. There's all sorts of ways it can get out there. So it's not used to be like it used to be with a one network system, limited network system. So we never know.
Who knows?
Fingers crossed. But for you then, when it comes to Marvel Runaways, when you got the role for that, how aware were you of the Marvel universe at this point? And once you got the role, did you then go, right, I'm going to cram more?
I was hugely aware of the Marvel brand. All my friends love Marvel. I think everybody in the world sort of loves Marvel. And I just remember Jeff Loeb calling me when I got the job, who's the head of Marvel TV. And he goes, Greg, I have to tell you 3 words that are about to change your life. He goes, welcome to Marvel. And I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of creepy, but kind of cool. And I remember thinking, like, Marvel, okay, wow, superheroes, oh wow, I need to get in shape quickly. And so I literally went to the gym, and that was the first thing I did when I got the role.
Wow, so you went to that's dedication, let's be honest.
Well, you know, my job was on the line at that point, so yeah, I thought I'd go.
And for you, you mentioned you were with Meghan Markle and you've worked with Selena, and now we're going to be having Elizabeth Hurley as well. What has it been like working with these iconic people?
Very special. Elizabeth's lovely. In fact, this was the third time, I'd say to Elizabeth, this was third time lucky because we did a movie, we kind of did a movie together in London. I flew in from Los Angeles, went to set in London, got to set, shot the first scene, went to lunch, and we never came back and shot the rest of the movie because like the financing fell through during.
Wow.
It was like insane. And so Elizabeth and I never actually ended up shooting and getting to know each other during that project. And then my last show I did was called Faking It. Yep. And the day I got Faking It, I was also offered a show called The Royals, which is I think it was on E.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it was either, okay, I couldn't do both shows. And so I was like, okay, wow, I've moved over to LA. Do I go back to London, shoot a show, or do I shoot a show that, in my opinion, I love The Royals. I thought it was great, but I thought that the themes of Faking It were way more important for me to be a part of, which is about the acceptance of the LGBT community. And so I thought, you know what, like, this is not just me being an actor. This is like, I could actually also impact people's lives and society. And so thankfully people do come up to me this day, you know, from that community, and they're like, that show inspired me to come out to my family and I've never been happier, or that show inspired me to tell my best friend that I love them and now we're in a relationship and we never knew, like, we never thought it would happen. And so that was really cool for me to be part of that show. But with Elizabeth, so I didn't work with her on The Royals. And then this time when I found out she was coming to be our villain on the show, it was special. It was really cool. She's lovely. Her son Damien also came to set a lot, so that was lovely. And yeah, she's a great woman, very talented, very professional. And yeah, it was nice to have another English person on this show because they don't, you know, I love America, but the sense of humor is a little different. They don't always understand our sarcasm.
And at least you can sit there thinking and then start talking about like Marmite and other stuff, and actually you have people who go, oh yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah, you know, it's so nice. It's the little things.
Yeah,
it's the little
make
things.
you feel back at home. But you also did, I think it was around 2015 if I'm right, Lip Sync Battle. How did you get involved in that, and what was that like to do? Because it looks great and and you did fantastically well on it.
Thank you.
How much fun was that?
It was. Has anyone seen my Lip Sync Battle episode? Oh, I'm so sorry that you have. So everyone knows of the show Lip Sync Battle. Okay, well tonight, if you get time, if you get a couple of minutes, just type in Gregg Sulkin Lip Sync Battle, and it'll amuse you.
It's worth a watch.
It will amuse you for a little bit. But my song of choice was Milkshake, which is My Milkshake Brings All the Boys to the Yard. And flew to New York. I didn't know much about it. Victoria Justice, who was on a Nickelodeon show, has been a friend of mine for 7-8 years. She called me and goes, look, it shoots tomorrow. Would you want to do it? And I was like, what is it? She's like, you just got to mime and sing in front of people. Didn't really ask too many questions. I got there. Suddenly, there were like 400 people. And for those who know me, know I cannot dance. Like, I'm not a dancer, not a singer. And so it was a very traumatic experience for me. I remember before the doors slid open, I was like, okay, I'm going to actually like perform in front of 400 people, and I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, no.
And so doors came open, and I promise you it was one of the best 2 minutes of my life. I didn't think about anyone else. I didn't think about the world. I didn't think about how I looked. I didn't think about how I sounded. I just had fun. And so it was sort of like let all your inhibitions out.
Yeah.
And I did. And so you guys will see that later when you're bored at home and you have 2 minutes. But yeah, apologies in advance.
And you won.
I won, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been the wig. I wore the wig, you know. And I also poured a milkshake on my head, but I don't want to ruin it. But just enjoy the show.
So yeah, so you've had some great experiences when you've been doing things like this. And what for you has been probably would you say it's one of the highlights of the things you've been doing? What that you've really enjoyed the most?
I think Wizards was a very special show. You know, I mean, it was literally day one in America, and I don't know, but then, you know, it's so tough. I mean, thankfully, I've been able to jump around on a few different shows. I've learned things from so much. You know, action comedy is a path that I now want to take in my career. I wouldn't have known that if I didn't do Runaways. You know, then again, I would love to be in 5-6 years, and when I probably have a family, you know, and I want my schedule to be lighter, I probably want to go and do a multicam sitcom like a Friends or a Big Bang Theory or like a Two and a Half Men sort of show. The schedule's much nicer. It's funny. It appeals to a massive part of, especially like mid-America. And so there are many different things. I've learned a lot from all the different projects that I've been on. Pretty Little Liars was absolutely incredible too, a huge fan base. I remember one day I was on the show, the next I had an extra 100,000 followers in a day.
Wow.
From one show, one episode on a show. So
that's incredible.
It's all been amazing. But don't get me wrong, there's been some lows too. Yes, I've been lucky, but at the same time, it also takes that grit and determination that I've been close on so many things. 3 months ago, I was testing for this Sony studio movie. And, I'm sure it will come out next year, and I hope it goes. I actually really do, because I love all the people involved, and I hope it goes really well for them. But I was so close on this movie. And you put your heart, your blood, your sweat, your tears into it. And then it doesn't work out, and it's all about kind of like, okay, it's a business where you get rejected a lot, and you have to be so thick-skinned. And so, to be honest, the lows have also been a highlight, because it's taught me a lot about myself. So getting told no in a weird way has also been my highlight, because it's tested my character and I've looked in the mirror way too many times, not in a vain way, but in a how deep can we go? How much further can I push myself? And it inspires you even more to just to keep working and get there, because it's fun proving people wrong.
It's taught you, and I heard this word the other day, which I really like. It's taught you, it's an abbreviation. It taught you to neg, never, ever, ever give up.
Exactly, you can't, because otherwise it's an industry where it's so competitive. Way too many people are interested in doing it. Way too many people are in it, and so if you give up, you quit. And people who quit don't win. So, I guess my dad's very driven. My brother's very driven. It just comes from maybe my family or just me. I don't know, but. Yeah, it's important, and not just the acting industry. I just think in life, if you want to do something and you're passionate about it, you've got to do it, because you only get one life, so you might as well just go for it.
Indeed. And speaking of passionate, we're going to talk to some of the fans now.
Yes.
So if you'd like to ask a question, put your hand up, and I'll bring the microphone around to you, and you can ask Greg a question. And I saw that lady's hand go up first, so I'm going to go to you. So what would you like to... Yeah? You can stand up if you want. Oh, yeah.
Hi. This will be a difficult question to answer, because I know that Marvel are quite scrutinized with watching what you say. When Marvel Runaways was being promoted, the one thing that I noticed was consistent with cast and crew members was they continuously promoted how diverse the cast was, but they never promoted the writing or...
Sorry, say the last bit again. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. But I heard the diverse part, but...
So I noticed that the cast and those who were working on it, they really promoted how diverse the show was and how it ticked a lot of boxes, but I feel like they didn't really sort of promote the writing. Is there any particular reasons to why? Because I felt like the writers were being left out for credit. Was that something you were sort of, they're pushing you to promote the diversity over the writing? Because most shows usually promote the writing.
Okay, maybe I'm just
if that makes sense.
No, maybe I'm hard of hearing, but I just want to make sure. So you're asking we were talking in interviews about how the show is diverse, but in the writing you didn't feel like it was diverse?
No.
Sorry, in the... so she's asking that in the press tours and things, you were talking about the show being diverse, but there was never any mention about how the writing was good. And the diversity... sorry?
The diversity overshadowed.
The diversity was seemingly overshadowing the writing and how good it was on the show. And most shows promote that.
Well, yes. I think two things. If you go to the writers, they're very talented. Josh and Steph are head showrunners, wrote Gossip Girl, The OC, Heart of Dixie. They're very, very, very successful writers. They know exactly what they're doing. So sometimes I guess that we just assume that everybody knows how good they are, so we don't need to express it, maybe. But we're doing press next week in New York, so I will now tell the cast to make sure we appreciate the writers.
I just wasn't sure if maybe Marvel was wanting us to really push the diversity side of it, if that was something, because it was constantly, I was like, this is weird. This is not usually how they promote. So I thought maybe that was something Marvel were really wanting to push.
No, I don't think Marvel have told us to do anything. I think, we are a diverse cast, and I think some of the conversations that have happened over the last few years are positive conversations, which is giving equal opportunities to people no matter their gender, race, sexuality. And so, it's very in the top of people's minds right now. And so that includes us. We're a young cast. We're a cast of young people. And so individually, I know exactly what they're talking about. I agree with what they're talking about. And so, it is important for us as actors and as people that maybe some people look up to, that if we can get the message across where, hey, diversity is important, that's what we'll try to do. But look, we also can't talk too much about the show. And so the diversity is something that we can talk about because we all agree on it. And so, with the Marvel side of stuff, I would love to talk more about like the show and what's happening and spoilers. But James Masters announced that our show was coming back for a third season before everybody was meant to know. And so we've been told he got in a lot of trouble. So I definitely don't want to get in trouble.
And we've got a question here.
What was your favorite moment in any of your TV shows or movies or anything like that? And is it all worth it?
Is it all worth it, you said?
As an actor, yeah. Is it all worth it?
My favorite moment, I would say, was probably when I tried to pick Selena up when I was like 17 years old. And I tried to do this like romantic swirl. And then I realized I was not strong enough. And I think that was a moment that really stuck in my brain because I was very embarrassed. And I thought, okay, this is like, I need to go to the gym. So that was a memory that definitely stuck out. I also remember, there's definitely a few highlights. I don't know if it was a high moment, but I also had my appendix out when I was working on Wizards. I'm not sure if you guys remember the show, but like there was an episode where I was doing a dancing scene. Like in between that scene, we had to come back 6 days later and shoot it because my appendix burst mid-scene. And people found me like passed out literally around the side of the soundstage. So that was, I don't know if it was a highlight, but it was definitely a memory. And regarding is it all worth it? I mean, to be honest, I don't know what I would be doing if I wasn't an actor. I was very bad in school. I had a knee injury when I was playing soccer and football, so I don't know what I'd be doing. So like for me, am I fulfilled through the industry? Yes, but there's also a lot more that I want to do. I want to produce, I want to direct, I want to write. And so, yes, acting fulfills me, but at the same time, I'm also, I don't just like it having acting as a creative outlet. Like I write poetry, like I guess I'm a creative person, and so I like different outlets. But it's a fantastic industry, I think.
And we're over here.
Hello. I know, like, you're not supposed to say anything like this, but in the comics, Gert's death is very hard for Chase. Are you gonna follow stuff like that? Because with the mad Alex, it doesn't look like he's gonna become evil in the show. So it's like.
I'm so sorry. I've got the noise in that ears like bouncing into my ear.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry. But can you say it one more time? Sorry.
So are you going to follow closer to the comics, or are you going to expand off? Because Alex doesn't look like he's going to turn evil anytime soon. I'm just wondering about Gert, you know what I mean?
Keep watching.
Okay.
Keep watching the show because it's going to get very, very good. If you're up to me, season 3 is the best season we have. But yeah, no, I think the writers, Josh and Steph, I think to their credit, you like that? I think to Josh and Steph's credit, they're excellent at respecting the comic book readers, but then understanding that, you know what, like, yeah, we can divert a little bit and make the story our own. So I think they've been very good at respecting original readers and then new audience members too. I think they've kind of dipped in and out to make the story more compelling for TV.
We have a question here from Merida from her bakery.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm not actually from Scotland. It's actually my daughter's question, but she's too shy to ask.
Put her on the mic.
She won't.
Oh,
I've tried,
okay.
Believe me. I don't know if it's been asked already, but if you could go back and meet your 10-year-old self, what advice would you give yourself going forward?
To never, ever, ever have that hairstyle that I had when I was 10 years old. I had shaved, I got sent back from school. I had shaved side. It was when David Beckham was like, well, he's still a legend, but when he was like a real legend. And you know, when he got the mohawk, he was shaved and then the mohawk, I copied him because I thought I was David Beckham. So never to ever get that hairstyle ever again. I guess that would be my first answer.
And a question here in the middle.
As an actor, what would be your dream role to play?
Definitely James Bond. I've always wanted to I think, you know, I guess it's, people laugh at me because I guess I have big dreams, but yeah, like I look at Bond and I've always wanted to be Bond ever since I was a young boy, like looking at the Bond film. So we're a few years away for sure, but I would definitely like to be James Bond. I always say I'm personally Jewish, and so I don't think there's ever been a Jewish James Bond. So if there's not, I'm creating my own James Bond franchise called James Bond Stein. So if James Bond doesn't work out, I'll create my own one.
Well, there's your like, action comedy film franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
And we got a question here.
Hi, another question about the comedy. One of my favourite scenes in Runaways is in season 2 when Del and Stacey drug you. Is that sort of thing as much fun to film as it is to watch?
It's definitely scary.
Yeah.
When you're given a scene that you know is meant to be funny, it's scary because you know that if it's not, it's not the writing. You know, it's most likely you. And playing, you'll hear a lot of actors probably say this, but probably two of the hardest things to play in life, in TV or film, is drunk and drugged. Because then as you start becoming a caricature, right? Of like, okay, he's obviously like acting drunk. So it's very tough. Like you can't, you never want to, yeah, it's tough. And the answer is obviously not be drugged or be drunk while you do it. That's definitely not what to do either. So you've got to really like just, it's a very tough area that you have to go into your mind. Kevin Weissman, who plays Dale, really helped me with that scene, to his credit. And thankfully, the director came up to me on this season and goes, dude, last season, how did you figure that out? And I literally just pointed to Kevin, because Kevin gave me all the advice. But yeah, it was a fun scene to do. I know the first take I didn't have fun, and then I let go a little bit, and then I had a bit more fun. And the more fun you have with it, I think the more fun you have with it, I think the more fun the audience has with it. And so yeah, I just you know, I went back to my lip sync battle days.
And we have a question here.
You said you felt a sense of importance when you were working on Faking It. I'm wondering, did you feel a similar sense of importance when you were working on the film White Frog?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think whenever you're doing a movie where there's, I'm not sure if sensitive is the right word, but let's just use it, sensitive, you know, subject matter, and your audience may be a community that, look, I'm not part of the LGBT community, so I know that I'm not a member of it, but I support it, and I support the community. And so, yeah, I feel like I definitely had a responsibility to make sure that I did my best work, and I committed to the character, absolutely. I think, you know, you dive in and out of projects for different reasons, and that was, you know, Faking It and White Frog I've always sort of been outspoken. I always will be outspoken in the fact that I believe people should love whoever they want. That's just me. Not everybody has to agree with me, but, you know, that's just personally what I believe. And so if I show that through my work, then yeah, that's what I'll do.
And we have a question towards the back in the middle.
Who's your greatest acting inspiration and why?
I mean, there's a few fantastic actors. George Clooney, Morgan Freeman is an incredible actor. I also respect Dwayne Johnson in the sense that he is able to create. I think he'd be the first one to admit that, you know, he's not Daniel Day-Lewis, but what he's done for himself and his career is like absolutely incredible. And so I take different things from different actors. In the young generation, I think Andrew Garfield is a great actor to look up to. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt as well is another great actor.
Okay, we've got a couple of questions here in the middle.
What was your favorite scene on Wizards?
People often remind me and ask me to say the word kitty cat, you know, because I said it when it was my first scene. And it was actually my first scene when I shot it. So I think that holds a lot of like weight and it brings back some amazing memories of, I remember holding the paintbrush and I was extremely nervous because I was doing the scene with Selena. So I was like, you know, shaky. So that was amazing. And then I think I remember the first time I got a laugh from an audience, it was like an unbelievable feeling because comedy, comedy is also a skill, you know, it's actually an art. And so getting that, I was watching David for many days. I was saying my first few days, no one was laughing. And then I was like watching him, studying him. I was like, why is he funny? Like, how is he funny? And then I realized, okay, well, some timing is involved here. And then I started looking at his body language and I was like, oh, actually, you know, his body language also helps with the comedy. And so I was like learning. And so the first time when there was a live audience and they laughed, that was also a very memorable moment.
And we have another question here.
How do you feel like all your characters have made your life different? Or are they all the similar way?
Well, I definitely think I've taken a few things from characters. You know, I've definitely learned in the sense that I've learned character flaws, maybe not what to bring into my own life. I've also taken things from my own personal life and put them into characters. So yeah, I think you take little nuggets, little pieces, and adapt them into your own life.
I have another question here.
Hi, how was it filming with Cloak and Dagger? Was it a different experience from Runaways, or?
Yes, Olivia Holt, it has been an old friend of mine for like 9 years, like 8-9 years. And so we actually did a movie together a few years ago that we didn't have any scenes in. And so when we were told that Cloak and Dagger and Runaways are crossing over, I texted Olivia, I was like, this is going to be amazing. She was so excited. Her and Aubrey were an absolute delight to have on set. They're amazing. We had a lot of fun. I think the episode is fantastic. And that's not just me giving you nonsense. I really do think it's great. And it changed up the energy on the show. You know, we were working together for 6 months straight. Not Olivia and Aubrey, but the rest of the Runaways. Working together for 6 months straight. And so it was so refreshing to get two people from the same world who understood the stakes of the show to come on and sort of like guest for a week. And basically it was like going to work with your mates. It was a lot of fun.
And we have a question just down here. I'm trying to squeeze through here.
Thank you. Hi again.
Hello.
See how obviously on Wizards of Waverly Place you were a comedy werewolf. Would you ever do a more serious Teen Wolf style?
I think I may have missed that boat when Teen Wolf got cancelled.
I thought you'd have been perfect.
Oh, well, thank you. No, for sure, you know. I mean, Teen Wolf is a great show. Those guys did an incredible show, incredible run. But I do think that thing, you know, there's waves, you know. I think werewolves have maybe transitioned, then there was vampires. Now it's sort of like some supernatural stuff. You know, audiences they love things and then they get bored of things and they love things again and bored of things. So I would never say no to not playing a werewolf because, I mean, I had so much fun playing a werewolf, but I don't see myself playing a werewolf in the next couple of years.
I have a question for this lady here.
My question is, when it comes to kind of creating a character and building a character, is your process the same for every character that you play, or do you kind of like to change it up? And I have another question as well, that is, would you ever consider going into theatre and doing some theatre shows?
I would absolutely consider theatre. I think it's probably the most nerve-wracking. I actually started in theatre. I was 8 years old. I dressed up as a girl. I didn't tell my parents what was happening. I just told them to come to the show. I put socks down my top, wore high heels, and sang a song. And actually, thankfully, I don't know how, but I got a standing ovation. I'm not sure it was because of the quality of performance, but just the fact that I guess people respected that I did it. And so I remember live theater was fun. And then I did a multicam sitcom, for example, in Wizards. That was still live in a sense. And so I definitely do love live performance. It's nerve-wracking because you don't get another take. But I would absolutely do it. But I just think choosing when and where and what piece of material, I think that's really important, because as helpful as it can be for someone's career, if you're not prepared, it could also go south pretty quickly, and so would prefer not to do that just yet. And regarding the process, I think, yeah, I have different processes for different characters. I mean, always you try to start off with the same process, which is understanding their circumstance, understanding their objectives, and understanding, their obstacles, and then kind of breaking it down from there, giving, sometimes it's easier on a movie because you know from start to finish. On a TV show, it's a little bit different. Like on Runaways, we don't get to know where our characters are going. Like Marvel are very secretive with how, when we see the scripts, when we see the material. So I have, like on my phone, I have a special iPhone password that is not normal on the iPhone. And it's because there's a Marvel email on my phone. And so it becomes like, they're very secretive with their privacy, and so it's tough as an actor to know exactly how to perform a certain episode because we don't know what's even happening in the next episode. With a movie, it's slightly different. You can kind of create the path, create the highs, create the lows.
And we have a question here.
What was the funniest scene to film in Wizards of Waverly?
What was the funniest thing filmed in?
Yeah. What was the funniest?
I think we had some country wizards come on for an episode, and being from England, I'd never met country people before, so I literally continued to laugh at their accent. I think to the point of, like, they probably thought I was, like, insulting. But, and now I've immersed myself in the American culture, and I now love Southern people and their accents.
Okay, we've got time for one final question. And it's going to be from here. It's the person. Here we go.
Hi. So your character in the Marvel universe is fantastic, but given the option, would you play any other one that's like established in maybe the MCU, like Iron Man, or would you want to play any other character if you could?
I do love Chase. Obviously, I'm like very biased towards him, but I would love to play Iron Man. But then if I played Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. wouldn't play Iron Man, and I love Robert Downey Jr., and then Iron Man probably wouldn't be as successful. So I think, it's best if I just like leave it to the big man,
Well, Greg, thank you ever so much for joining us and coming back over to see us and visit us this weekend in Glasgow. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a massive round of applause to the brilliant Mr. Gregg Sulkin.
Thank you.